Danny Carter stepped off the transport ship and took his first breath of recycled air. The space station Valora Prime stretched out before him like a city made of glass and light. He had spent 3 months traveling from Earth to reach this place, and now he was finally here. The Galactic Academy of Sciences, the most famous school in the known universe. He was the first human to ever attend. Danny adjusted the strap of his bag and walked toward the main entrance. He was 19 years old, with brown hair and an easy smile. Back home in Montana, he had been a normal college student. He liked hiking, played basketball with his friends, and worked part-time at his uncle's ranch. Nothing special. Nothing unusual. But the alien staring at him did not seem to think he was normal at all. A group of small creatures with gray skin and large eyes quickly moved to the other side of the hallway when they saw him coming. 2 tall beings covered in soft fur stopped their conversation and watched him pass with expressions that looked like fear. Danny heard whispers in languages he did not understand, but the translator chip in his ear turned them into words he could recognize. Is that a human? From Earth? The Death Planet? Why would they let one of those things in here? Danny frowned but kept walking. He figured they were just not used to seeing humans yet. Earth had only joined the Galactic Union 5 years ago, and most species had never met a human in person. They probably just needed time to get comfortable around him. He found his way to the housing office and collected his room key. The administrator, a being with purple scales and 4 arms, handed him the key card without making eye contact. His hands were shaking slightly. Your roommate is already there, the administrator said. Please try not to. Just please be careful. Be careful of what? Danny asked. The administrator did not answer. He just waved Danny away and called for the next student. Danny shook his head and walked to his assigned room. The door slid open when he pressed his key card against the panel, and he stepped inside. The room was small but comfortable. 2 beds, 2 desks, 2 closets. Simple and clean. A girl was sitting on one of the beds, reading something on a tablet device. She had pale blue skin, large dark eyes, and long silver hair that fell past her shoulders. She looked up when Danny entered, and then she screamed. Danny dropped his bag in surprise. Whoa, hey, it's okay. I'm just your roommate. The girl pressed herself against the wall, her eyes wide with terror. Her whole body was trembling. Stay back. Please, don't hurt me. Hurt you? I'm not going to hurt you. Danny held up his hands to show he meant no harm. My name is Danny. I'm from Earth. I'm a student here, just like you. The girl stared at him for a long moment. Slowly, very slowly, she stopped shaking. But she did not move away from the wall. I am Kira Voss, she said in a quiet voice. I am Thalorian. I knew I would have a roommate, but nobody told me it would be a human. Is that a problem? Danny asked. Kira swallowed hard. On my world, we have stories about Earth. We call it the Death Planet. Everything there is trying to kill everything else. The gravity is crushing. The weather is violent. The animals are monsters. She paused. And the humans are the most dangerous creatures of all. The apex predators of a world full of apex predators. Danny blinked. I mean, Earth can be a little rough sometimes, but I wouldn't call it a death planet. It's actually pretty nice. We have mountains and oceans and forests. I grew up on a ranch with horses and dogs. Horses, Kira repeated. The massive beast that humans ride into battle. And dogs. The pack hunters that humans turned into loyal soldiers through generations of selective breeding. They're pets, Danny said. Horses help with work on the ranch. Dogs are companions. My dog back home is named Biscuit. He likes belly rubs and sleeping on the couch. Kira did not look convinced, but she slowly sat back down on her bed. She was still watching Danny, like he might attack at any moment. But at least she had stopped screaming. Danny decided to give her some space. He unpacked his bag quietly, putting his clothes in the closet and his books on the desk. He could feel Kira's eyes on him the whole time, watching his every movement. This was going to be a long semester. The next morning, Danny attended the new student orientation in the main auditorium. Hundreds of students from dozens of species filled the seats. Danny sat near the back, trying not to draw attention to himself. It did not work. Everyone around him had moved to different seats, leaving a wide, empty circle with Danny at the center. An elderly alien with deep purple scales and 4 arms walked onto the stage. Danny recognized him from the housing office, but this one had white markings on his face that the other one did not have. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy of Sciences," the old alien said. "I am Professor Zenth. For the next 4 years, this station will be your home. You will learn, grow, and form friendships that will last a lifetime." Professor Zenth continued his speech, but Danny noticed that the professor kept glancing in his direction. There was something in those ancient eyes: curiosity, concern, maybe even fear. After the orientation ended, Danny tried to introduce himself to some other students. They all made excuses and hurried away. He ate lunch alone in the cafeteria while other students watched him from a safe distance. By the end of the day, Danny was feeling frustrated and confused. He was not a monster. He was just a regular guy from Montana who wanted to study xenobiology and make some friends. Why was everyone so afraid of him? He was walking back to his room when someone stepped into his path. The alien was tall and thin, with a body like a praying mantis and sharp blades on his arms. His eyes were cold and mean. 3 other aliens of the same species stood behind him. "So you are the human," the alien said. "The Deathworlder. I am Rax, and I want you to know something. I am the strongest student at this academy. I do not care what planet you come from. You do not scare me." Danny looked at Rax calmly. "I don't want to scare anyone. I just want to go to my room." Rax leaned closer, his blade arms twitching. "Maybe I should teach you some respect, human. Maybe I should show everyone that Deathworlders are not so tough after all." Danny did not step back. He did not flinch. He just stood there, looking Rax in the eyes, and waited. And that was when Rax realized he had made a terrible mistake. Rax had expected the human to show fear. Every other species he had ever bullied had shown fear. Their hearts would beat faster. Their bodies would release stress chemicals. Their eyes would dart around looking for escape routes. These were normal responses. Natural responses. The responses of prey animals facing a predator. But the human showed nothing. Danny Carter just stood there, calm and relaxed, looking at Rax like he was watching a mildly interesting television program. His heart rate did not increase. His breathing did not change. His body did not prepare to run away. Instead, something in Danny's eyes shifted. Something ancient and patient. The look of a creature that had never been prey. The look of a creature that came from a world where everything was dangerous. And nothing was more dangerous than a human. Rax felt his legs go weak. "I don't want any trouble," Danny said in a friendly voice. "I'm just trying to get to my room. Can you please move?" Rax moved. He moved so fast that his friends had to jump out of the way. Within seconds, he and his gang had disappeared around the corner. And Danny was standing alone in the hallway. Danny shrugged and continued walking to his room. By the next morning, the story had spread across the entire station. The human had faced down Rax without showing any fear. The human had not even blinked. The human had stood his ground against the biggest bully in the academy and made him run away with just a look. Kira was waiting for Danny when he woke up. She had her tablet ready, and her eyes were bright with scientific curiosity. "Tell me everything," she said. "What happened with Rax?" How do you make him so afraid? Did you use some kind of chemical signal? A pheromone weapon? Telepathic intimidation? Danny yawned and rubbed his eyes. I just stood there. I didn't do anything special. That's impossible. Rax has never backed down from anyone. He once fought 3 Corvallian guards at the same time and won. And you made him run away by just standing there. I guess so, Danny said. Can I eat breakfast first before the questions? Kira followed him to the cafeteria, still asking questions the whole way. Danny noticed that other students were watching him differently now. Before, they had looked at him with fear. Now there was something else mixed in. Respect, curiosity, maybe even admiration. After breakfast, Danny had his first physical education class. All new students were required to take it. The class was held in a large gymnasium with equipment designed to test speed, strength, and endurance. The instructor was a muscular alien with green skin and small horns on his head. He explained that today's exercise was a simple obstacle course. Students would run through a series of barriers, climb a wall, cross a balance beam, and finish with a short sprint. The course was designed to measure baseline fitness levels. Danny watched as other students took their turns. Most of them struggled. The Tellurians, like Kira, moved slowly and carefully. Their home planet had very low gravity, so even this basic course was challenging for them. Other species did better, but nobody completed the course in less than 5 minutes. Then, it was Danny's turn. He walked to the starting line, took a breath, and began to run. Danny moved through the obstacles like they were not even there. He jumped over barriers that other students had to climb. He scaled the wall in 3 quick movements. He crossed the balance beam without slowing down. And then he sprinted to the finish line. Total time, 47 seconds. The gymnasium went completely silent. Danny jogged back to the group, barely breathing hard. How did I do? He asked. The instructor stared at his timer like it was broken. That's not possible. You broke the academy record. You broke it by 4 minutes. Really? Danny looked surprised. That course wasn't too hard. We had tougher ones in high school gym class back home. Kira was furiously taking notes on her tablet. Other students were whispering to each other. Some of them were recording Danny with their personal devices. But the day was not over yet. During the cool-down period, a piece of heavy equipment came loose from the ceiling. It fell directly toward a small student who had not seen it coming. Danny moved without thinking. His hand shot out and caught the equipment before it could hit the ground. The piece of metal weighed at least 50 kilograms, but Danny held it easily with one arm. Are you okay? He asked the small student. The student could only nod, too shocked to speak. Danny set the equipment down gently and looked at his classmates. They were all staring at him with wide eyes. Even the instructor looked stunned. What? Danny asked. Was I not supposed to catch that? After class, Professor Zenth found Danny in the hallway and asked him to come to his office. The old alien closed the door and gestured for Danny to sit down. I need to explain something to you, Professor Zenth said. Something that perhaps no one on Earth has told you. Okay, Danny said. What is it? Your planet Earth is classified by the Galactic Union as a Class 7 death world. That is the highest danger rating possible. Only 12 planets in the known galaxy have earned that classification. Danny frowned. What does that mean exactly? It means that your world has extreme gravity, toxic atmosphere, violent weather, and ecosystems filled with dangerous predators. Most species in the galaxy could not survive on Earth for more than a few hours. The conditions that you consider normal would kill the majority of beings in this room within minutes. Professor Zenth leaned forward. Do you understand what I am telling you? You evolved on a world that is essentially a death trap. Your bones are denser than steel alloys. Your muscles are several times stronger than the galactic average. Your reflexes are faster than most species can perceive. Your body can heal from wounds that would kill others. Danny sat back in his chair, trying to process this information. So when I caught that equipment today, you demonstrated strength that most beings could never achieve, no matter how much they trained. And when you completed that obstacle course, you were moving at speeds that some species would need vehicles to match. I had no idea, Danny said quietly. I thought I was just average. Professor Zenth smiled gently. On Earth, perhaps you are average. Here, among the stars, you are something quite extraordinary. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Danny thought about Kira, who had been so afraid of him. He thought about Rax, who had tried to bully him. He thought about all the students who watched him with fear in their eyes. I just want to be a good student, Danny said. I just want to make friends and learn new things. I don't want people to be scared of me. Professor Zenth nodded slowly. Then show them who you really are. Not with your strength, but with your character. Before Danny could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the hallways. Emergency alert, a computerized voice announced. Hull breach in Residential Sector 7. All students remain in your current locations. Danny stood up quickly. That's my sector. That's where Kira lives. And without waiting for permission, he ran out the door. Danny ran through the corridors of Valora Prime faster than he had ever run before. The alarm was still blaring, and red emergency lights painted everything in shades of crimson. Other students pressed themselves against the walls as he passed, but Danny did not slow down. He reached Residential Sector 7 in less than 2 minutes. A crowd had gathered near a sealed blast door, and station security officers were arguing with each other about what to do. Danny pushed his way to the front. What's happening? He demanded. One of the officers, a tall alien with blue skin and multiple eyes, turned to look at him. A micrometeor struck the outer hall. We've sealed the damaged section, but 6 students are trapped inside. Life support is failing. They have maybe 10 minutes of air left. Can't you open the door and get them out? The breach is between us and them. There's a 30-meter section that's completely exposed to vacuum. No atmosphere. No pressure. Anyone who tries to cross it will die instantly. Danny looked at the sealed door, then back at the officer. How long would someone need to survive in vacuum to reach them? About 30 seconds. But that's impossible. No species can survive vacuum exposure for more than a few seconds. The pressure change alone would kill most beings. Danny took a deep breath. Humans can survive about 90 seconds in vacuum. It's not fun, but it's possible. Our bodies don't explode like in the movies. We just need to get to atmosphere before we lose consciousness. The security officer stared at him. You would die. Maybe. But those students will definitely die if no one does anything. Danny looked around at the crowd. He saw Kira near the back, her hands pressed against her mouth in fear. He saw Rax standing with his friends, his expression unreadable. He saw dozens of other students, all watching him with wide eyes. Open the door, Danny said. I cannot authorize this, the officer replied. It's too dangerous. Then don't authorize it. Just open the door and look the other way for 30 seconds. There was a long silence. Then the officer nodded slowly and stepped aside. Another officer moved to the control panel and began entering commands. Danny walked to the airlock door. He could feel everyone watching him. He could hear whispered prayers in a dozen different languages. He tried not to think about what he was about to do. Danny, wait. Kira pushed through the crowd and grabbed his arm. Her dark eyes were filled with tears. You don't have to do this. You barely know those students. Why would you risk your life for them? Danny smiled at her. Because I can. Because someone has to, and because that's what humans do. He gently removed her hand from his arm and stepped into the airlock. The inner door closed behind him. Through the small window, he could see Kira crying and the crowd, watching in terrified silence. The outer door began to open. Danny had studied what vacuum exposure felt like. He knew the theory, but nothing could have prepared him for the reality. The air was sucked from his lungs in an instant. His skin felt like it was being stretched in every direction. The saliva on his tongue began to boil. The cold was beyond anything he had ever experienced, a cold that seemed to reach into his bones and squeeze. But Danny did not stop. He pushed off from the airlock and moved through the exposed section as fast as he could. Every second felt like an hour. His vision began to blur. His chest burned from lack of oxygen. 20 meters. 15 meters. 10 meters. His fingers were going numb. His thoughts were becoming slow and confused. He could barely see the emergency panel on the other side. 5 meters. 3 meters. 1 meter. Danny slammed his palm against the panel and collapsed through the emergency hatch just as it opened. He fell onto the floor of the sealed corridor, gasping and shaking, while 6 terrified students stared down at him in disbelief. "Are you okay?" one of them asked. Danny recognized him. It was Rax. Get the door open," Danny managed to say between ragged breaths. "The rescue team is waiting." Rax moved to the emergency controls and followed Danny's pointing finger to the right sequence. The blast door on the other side of the corridor opened, and security officers rushed in with medical equipment. Danny was lifted onto a stretcher and carried to the medical bay. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was Kira's face, streaked with tears but smiling with relief. He woke up 3 hours later in a hospital bed. His body ached everywhere, and his skin was covered in small bruises from the pressure changes. But he was alive. Kira was sitting in a chair next to his bed, her tablet forgotten in her lap. When she saw his eyes open, she jumped up and grabbed his hand. "You're awake. The doctors said you would be fine, but I was so worried. You were exposed to vacuum for 34 seconds. They said it should have killed you. They said no one should be able to survive that." Danny tried to laugh, but it hurt too much. I guess humans are tougher than they thought. The door opened, and Rax walked in. The tall alien looked different somehow. Smaller, more humble. He stopped at the foot of Danny's bed and stood there in silence for a long moment. "You saved my life," Rax finally said. "You risked everything to save me, even after I threatened you. Even after I tried to bully you. Why?" Danny looked at Rax with tired eyes. "Because you needed help. That's the only reason that matters." Rax bowed his head. "I was wrong about you. I thought Deathworlders were monsters. I thought humans were dangerous animals that should be feared and avoided. But you are not a monster. You are the bravest person I have ever met." "I'm not brave," Danny said. "I was terrified the whole time. But being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." Rax nodded slowly. "I will remember that." He turned and walked toward the door, then stopped. "Thank you, Danny Carter. I owe you a debt I can never repay." After Rax left, Kira squeezed Danny's hand. "You know what's funny? I was so afraid of you when we first met. I thought you were going to hurt me. But now I realize I wasn't seeing you clearly. I was seeing stories and rumors and lies. I wasn't seeing the real you. And what do you see now?" Danny asked. Kira smiled. "I see my friend. I see someone who would risk his life to save people he barely knows. I see someone who is strong not because of his muscles, but because of his heart." Danny smiled back at her. For the first time since arriving at Valora Prime, he felt like maybe he could belong here after all. But his peaceful moment was interrupted by a knock at the door. Professor Zenth entered with a serious expression on his face. "I am glad you are recovering," the old alien said. "But I'm afraid there is a problem. The Academy Board has called an emergency meeting. They are discussing whether to expel you from the station." Danny sat up in surprise, wincing at the pain. "Expel me? But I just saved 6 students." "I know," Professor Zenth said grimly. "But some people are more afraid than grateful. And fear can make people do terrible things." The Academy Board meeting took place 2 days later in the largest conference hall on Valora Prime. Danny sat in the chair at the front of the room. Facing a long table were 12 board members from 12 different species looked down at him with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. Professor Zenth sat to Danny's left as his faculty advocate. Kira and Rax were in the audience behind him, along with the other 5 students he had saved from the hull breach. The rest of the seats were filled with other students, faculty members, and station officials who had come to watch. The board chairperson, an elderly alien with silver scales and 6 arms, called the meeting to order. "We are here to discuss the matter of Danny Carter, human student from Earth," she announced. "Following the incident in Residential Sector 7, several concerns have been raised about the safety of having a Deathworlder enrolled at this institution." A board member with red skin and sharp teeth leaned forward. "Let me be direct. This human crossed 30 meters of hard vacuum and survived. He demonstrated physical abilities that are beyond anything we have seen from any other student in Academy history. He is dangerous. He saved 6 lives," Professor Zenth replied calmly. "Is that the action of a dangerous creature?" "That is exactly my point," the red-skinned board member said. "He saved lives this time. But what happens next time? What if he becomes angry? What if he decides to use his abilities for harm instead of good? We have no way to stop him." Danny listened to the debate go back and forth. Some board members defended him. Others demanded his immediate expulsion. Some wanted to study him like a lab animal. Others wanted him shipped back to Earth and never allowed to return. Through it all, Danny stayed silent. He had been told not to speak unless directly addressed. But inside, he felt something growing. Not anger. Something more painful than anger. Sadness. Loneliness. The feeling of being judged for what he was rather than who he was. Finally, the chairperson turned to him. "Danny Carter, you may speak now if you wish." Danny stood up slowly. He looked at the board members, then at the audience behind him. He saw Kira's encouraging smile. He saw Rax's steady nod. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "I understand why you're afraid of me. I really do. Before I came here, I had no idea that Earth was considered a death world. I had no idea that humans were seen as monsters throughout the galaxy. To me, Earth was just home. The place where I grew up. The place where I learned to ride horses and play basketball and watch the stars at night." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "You look at me, and you see a predator. You see someone who is stronger and faster and tougher than you are. And that scares you. I understand that. Fear is natural. Fear keeps us alive." Danny turned to look directly at the red-skinned board member who had spoken against him. "But fear can also make us blind. It can make us see enemies where there are none. It can make us push away people who only want to be friends." He turned back to face the whole room. "Yes, I am strong. Yes, I come from a dangerous world. But that doesn't make me evil. On Earth, we have a saying, with great power comes great responsibility. My planet made me strong so that I could protect those who cannot protect themselves. My planet gave me endurance so that I could keep going when others could not. My planet taught me to never give up, never surrender, and never leave anyone behind." Danny's voice grew stronger. 2 days ago, 6 students were trapped and dying. Nobody else could save them. So I did what any human would do. I walked into danger without hesitation, because their lives mattered more than my safety. That is what it means to be human. That is what Earth taught me. He looked at the chairperson. You can expel me if you want. You can send me back to Earth and ban humans from this academy forever. But that won't make you safer. It will just prove that fear is stronger than friendship. It will prove that prejudice is stronger than understanding. And it will tell every Deathworlder in the galaxy that no matter what they do, no matter how hard they try, they will never be accepted. Danny sat back down. The room was completely silent. Then Kira stood up. I want to speak. The chairperson nodded. Go ahead. When I found out my roommate was human, I was terrified. I had grown up hearing stories about Deathworlders. I thought Danny was going to hurt me. I thought I would have to sleep with one eye open for the entire semester. Kira looked at Danny with warm eyes. But Danny never hurt me. He never threatened me. He was patient and kind, even when I flinched every time he moved. He gave me space when I needed it. He answered my questions even when they were insulting. He treated me like a person, not like a scared animal. She turned to face the board. Danny Carter is the kindest, bravest person I have ever met. If you expel him, you will be making the biggest mistake in Academy history. Rax stood up next. I also want to speak. The chairperson looked surprised, but nodded. I tried to bully Danny on his first day here. I thought I was tough. I thought I could intimidate him like I intimidated everyone else. But Danny didn't fight back. He didn't run away. He just looked at me and asked me to move. And something in his eyes made me realize how foolish I was being. Rax's voice was heavy with emotion. When the hull breach happened, I was one of the trapped students. I was sure I was going to die. And then Danny appeared. He had just walked through vacuum. He was injured and exhausted and barely conscious. But the first thing he did was make sure we were okay. He saved my life after I had threatened his. Rax looked at the board members. If that is what a Deathworlder is, then we need more Deathworlders in this galaxy. Not fewer. One by one, the other rescued students stood up and spoke. They talked about Danny's bravery. They talked about his kindness. They talked about how he had made them feel safe in the moment they were most afraid. When the last student finished speaking, the chairperson called for a vote. It was not even close. Danny Carter was allowed to stay at the Galactic Academy of Sciences. That evening, Danny sat alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. Kira found him there and sat down beside him. How are you feeling? She asked. Tired, Danny admitted, but also happy. For the first time since I got here, I feel like I actually belong. Kira smiled. You do belong. You proved that today. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars drift by. Then the observation deck's communication system crackled to life. Attention all personnel. A distress signal has been received from the research vessel Stella Dawn. The ship has been captured by pirates. All available security teams, please report to Docking Base 7 for emergency briefing. Danny and Kira looked at each other. You're going to volunteer, aren't you? Kira asked. Danny nodded slowly. Someone has to help those people. Kira sighed, then smiled. Then I'm coming with you. Someone has to watch your back. Together, they ran toward Docking Bay 7. Docking Bay 7 was filled with activity when Danny and Kira arrived. Security officers were loading weapons and checking equipment. Communication technicians were monitoring the distress signal. Station commanders were arguing about strategy. Danny pushed through the crowd until he found the officer in charge, a muscular alien with green skin and cybernetic implants on both arms. The officer was studying a holographic display of a starship. That's the pirate vessel, the officer explained when Danny asked. The Crimson Blade, it belongs to a group called Dvorak Syndicate. They prey on civilian ships in this sector. This is the third vessel they've captured this month. What's the plan for rescue? Danny asked. The officer shook his head. We don't have one. The pirates have 20 hostages. They're demanding a ransom of 50 million credits. If we don't pay within 6 hours, they'll start killing prisoners. Can't you just attack the ship? Too risky. The pirates have the hostages scattered throughout the vessel. Any direct assault would result in civilian casualties. The officer looked at Danny with tired eyes. Sometimes there are no good options. Danny studied the holographic display. The pirate ship was large but old. Its hull had weak points. Its security systems were outdated. And there was one thing the pirates probably had not considered. They had never faced a human before. I have an idea, Danny said. 20 minutes later. A small shuttle launched from Valora Prime and headed toward the Crimson Blade. On board were Danny, Kira, Rax, and 4 security officers. The shuttle was disguised as a supply transport, carrying what appeared to be the first installment of the ransom payment. Remember the plan, Danny said as they approached the pirate ship. Kira handles the technical work. She'll hack their systems and unlock the prison cells. Rax and the security team will evacuate the hostages to our shuttle. I'll deal with the pirates. How exactly will you deal with them? One of the security officers asked nervously. Danny smiled. I'll figure it out. The shuttle docked with the Crimson Blade without incident. The pirates were expecting the ransom, so they did not suspect anything unusual. A boarding ramp extended, and the group stepped onto the pirate vessel. 6 Vorax pirates were waiting for them. They were ugly creatures with gray skin, multiple eyes, and mouths filled with sharp teeth. Each one carried an energy weapon and wore light armor. Where's the money? The lead pirate demanded. Danny stepped forward. There is no money. We're here to rescue the hostages. You can surrender now, or you can try to fight me. Your choice. The pirates laughed. They raised their weapons. And then Danny moved. The lead pirate never saw the fist that knocked him unconscious. One moment he was aiming his weapon at the human. The next moment he was flying through the air, his jaw broken and his brain already shutting down. Danny moved through the other pirates like a force of nature. He was faster than their eyes could follow. He was stronger than their armor could withstand. In less than 10 seconds, all 6 pirates were lying on the floor, unconscious but alive. Clear, Danny said. Kira, start the hack. Rax, take your team and find the hostages. Kira ran to the nearest computer terminal and began working. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, breaking through security protocols that would have stopped most hackers for hours. She had spent days studying human computer systems and had adapted their techniques for alien technology. Within minutes, she had access to the entire ship. The hostages are being held in 3 locations, she reported. Cargo Bay 2, Engineering Section, and the captain's quarters. I'm unlocking the doors now. Rax nodded and led the security team deeper into the ship. Danny could hear weapons fire in the distance as they encountered more pirates. But the security officers were trained professionals. They could handle themselves. Danny headed toward the bridge. That was where the pirate captain would be. He found her waiting for him. The Vorax captain was larger than the others, with scars covering her face and a mechanical arm that ended in a sharp blade. She sat in her command chair, watching Danny approach with cold amusement. So you are the human, she said. I have heard stories about your kind. The monsters from the Death Planet. The apex predators of the galaxy. I'm not here to hurt you, Danny said. I'm here to take back the hostages. Let them go, and no one else has to get hurt. The captain laughed. You think I'm afraid of you? I have killed hundreds of beings. I have raided 1,000 ships. I am the terror of this sector. No human will frighten me. She lunged at Danny with her blade arm extended. Danny sidestepped the attack, grabbed her mechanical arm and twisted. The metal shrieked and bent. The captain screamed in pain and fell to her knees. Danny looked down at her. "I could kill you right now. It would be easy. You've hurt so many innocent people. Maybe you deserve it." The captain stared up at him with hatred and fear in her eyes. "But that's not who I am," Danny continued. "Where I come from, we believe in something called mercy. We believe that every life has value, even the lives of our enemies. So I'm going to let you live. But your pirating days are over." He knocked her unconscious with a single blow and tied her up with cable from the bridge consoles. An hour later, the rescue operation was complete. All 20 hostages were safely aboard the shuttle. The pirate crew was locked in their own prison cells. The Crimson Blade was being towed back to Valora Prime for processing. Danny sat in the shuttle's passenger compartment, exhausted but satisfied. Kira sat next to him, her head resting on his shoulder. Rax sat across from them, cleaning his weapon with practiced movements. "You know," Rax said, "when I first met you, I thought you were going to be my enemy. I thought humans were dangerous animals that should be avoided at all costs. And now?" Danny asked. Rax smiled, which was a strange expression on his mantis-like face. "Now I think you are still dangerous. But you are a good kind of dangerous. The kind of dangerous that protects people instead of hurting them." When they returned to Valora Prime, a crowd was waiting for them. Students and faculty and station personnel had gathered to welcome home the heroes. As Danny stepped off the shuttle, applause erupted throughout the docking bay. The chairperson of the Academy Board walked forward and shook Danny's hand. "On behalf of the Galactic Academy of Sciences, I want to thank you for your bravery today. You have proven beyond any doubt that humans deserve a place among the stars." Danny smiled humbly. "I didn't do it alone. Kira and Rax and the security team did just as much as I did." "Then you are all heroes," the chairperson said. That evening, a celebration was held in the main hall. Students from every species gathered to honor Danny and his friends. Music played. Food was shared. Laughter filled the air. Danny found himself surrounded by aliens who wanted to shake his hand, pat his back, or simply talk to him. Species that had avoided him before now approached him with smiles and curiosity. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. Eventually, he slipped away and found a quiet corner near a window. Kira found him there a few minutes later. "Hiding from your fans?" she asked with a smile. "Just needed a moment to breathe," Danny said. He looked out at the stars. "You know, when I left Earth, I thought I was going on a simple adventure. Study abroad for a few years. See the galaxy. Make some friends. I never expected any of this." Kira stood beside him. "Do you regret coming?" Danny thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the prejudice, the danger, but also the friendships, the acceptance, the feeling of being exactly where he was supposed to be. "No," he said. "Not for a second. Earth will always be home. But I think I've found a second family here among the stars." Kira took his hand and squeezed it. "Yes, you have." They stood together, watching the stars drift by, knowing that whatever adventures lay ahead, they would face them together. And somewhere in the galaxy, other humans were beginning their own journeys to the stars. Because Danny Carter had shown everyone what humanity really was. Not monsters, not weapons, just people with big hearts and the strength to protect what matters most. The galaxy would never be the same.